Sorry, Arthur. I didn't mean to lose my temper.
Good heavens, David, you're entitled to lose your temper once in a while.
Once in a while, be damned. I'm losing it far too often lately. Well, where were we?
You were just about to tell me to take a running jump.
Not you, Steen.
What have you got against Jack?
Nothing. I admire the little devil. I just don't want to finish up working for him, that's all.
But nobody's asking you to. You know the deal. They want to buy us out, the whole setup, lock, stock and barrel.
Just like that.
I know how you feel, David, but being sentimental about the firm isn't going to get us anywhere.
After 15 years, it's a little difficult not to be sentimental.
No, but we've got to face up to things, be realistic.
You call selling out to Jack Steen being realistic?
Yes, I do.
In spite of the fact that we made more money last year than we ever made before?
It's not just a question of money. Have you spoken to Evelyn about this?
Good heavens, no. You know Evelyn. She's not remotely interested in the business. She didn't even know who Jack Steen was until I mentioned him at dinner the other night. Then she thought he was an actor.
Yeah, well, she's not far wrong. Well, you know how I feel, David. It's up to you.
When are we seeing Steen again?
Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock.
Here?
Yeah. I've promised him a decision, one way or the other.
He's rushing things a bit, isn't he?
Well, to be fair, this deal's been on the cards for almost 2 years now.
Pity I didn't let you have your way 5 years ago when you wanted to go public.
Let's face it, David. When have you ever let me have my own way?
Perhaps it's about time I started.
What?
We'll accept the offer. We'll give Steen the go-ahead tomorrow morning.
You mean that?
Yes.
You won't change your mind?
No, Arthur. I won't change my mind.
Excuse me, Mr. Eastwood. Mr. Royce is on the phone, sir.
Oh, tell him I'm out. I'll phone him in the morning. And ring Baker and cancel my appointment for this afternoon. I'm taking the rest of the day off, Sue.
Aren't you feeling well, Mr. Walker?
I've got some shopping to do. I've just discovered that I've got to buy a shawl and a pair of slippers.
You'll just have to be patient. I've got you.
Where are you going?
Oh, darling, you just have to wait.
Still no reply. I'm terribly sorry about this, Jack. It's most unlike David. Most mornings he's in the office at least an hour before I am. We have a sort of running joke about it.
Well, it appears to be wearing a little thin. I'm sorry, Arthur. I'll have to be making a move.
Yes, of course. You're a very busy man, I realise that.
Well, it's a pity your partner doesn't.
Any news?
No, I'm afraid not.
You tried dispatch?
Yes, and they haven't seen him since yesterday morning.
Well, keep ringing his home. There's bound to be a reply sooner or later. There's nothing to worry about, Jack. He's made his mind up. When David makes his mind up...
I'm not worried, my dear chap, not in the slightest.
I'll get David to give you a ring the moment he comes in.
Yes, do that.
I'll come down to the car with you.
Thank you, Sue.
I'm sure I can't get you anything.
No, I don't want anything.
Look,
just at the
Janet's
moment.
making some coffee. Let me get you.
All right, Sue. I'll have some coffee. And get me a call to Ditchford. Personal call to Mr. Parker. Ditchford 278.
Ditchford?
Yes, it's in Cumberland, near Penrith.
Now, I don't want any more messing about. He can't make his bloody mind up.
Made his mind up, Jack. We both have. Have every intention of going through with this deal.
I'm leaving for New York on Saturday. If I haven't heard from him by Thursday morning, you can forget the whole thing.
I don't know what time I'll be arriving. Probably about 5 o'clock. No, I'm driving up. What? Well, I'll tell you when I see you, Uncle. Goodbye.
Where the hell have you been? Steen waited almost an hour.
I know. I'm sorry, Arthur.
What the devil's happened, David?
I just couldn't face Jack Steen. Not this morning, anyhow.
You changed your mind?
What?
About the deal?
No, I haven't changed my mind.
David, what the hell's happened?
Have you ever met a man called Roy Norton?
Yes. Runs a driving school. Tallish chap. Good looking.
That's him. Well, I met the gentleman rather unexpectedly, I'm afraid, yesterday afternoon.
Well?
Evelyn introduced us.
Evelyn?
Yes.
Yesterday afternoon?
That's right.
Oh, my God. David, I'm sorry.
But not surprised. Not surprised, Arthur. A little bitch. Mean, cheap, despicable little bitch. I could have killed her.
What happened?
There were so many things I wanted to say to both of them.
David, what happened?
I didn't say anything. Not a bloody word. I just walked out.
What are you going to do?
I don't know. I suppose ultimately I'll have to think about a divorce. I thought I'd go away for a couple of days. I got an uncle in Cumberland. He looked after me when I was a boy. I haven't seen him in years, but I thought I'd go and stay with him.
I think that's a good idea.
Hello.
How far are you going?
Penrith.
Penrith? Where's that?
It's in Cumberland, not far from Appleby.
Never heard of it. Anyway, do you go through Doncaster?
Yes?
Oh, well, that's okay. You can drop me in Doncaster.
Any particular street?
No. Anywhere will do. Nice car. Very posh.
Glad you like it.
Do you smoke? Thanks. DW, what does that stand for?
They're my initials.
I know that. I'm not that stupid. Let's see now. Derek? No, I don't think so. Donald?
David.
Oh, I like David. I used to know a David. Knew him very well, as a matter of fact. My name's Judy. I wouldn't give you fourpence for them. Not a patch of the Sagittarians.
Sagittarians? Is this the Sagittarians?
You've got to be joking. You and your wife always take separate holidays.
This isn't a holiday. Anyway, what makes you think I'm married?
Well, aren't you?
Yes, I am, as a matter of fact. Just. Why don't you put the seat back and take a nap?
But I'm not sleepy. Besides, I'm very fussy who I sleep with.
There's a magazine in that side pocket if you care to read it.
Is that a polite way of telling me to shut up?
Yes.
I thought it was. You know, you sound just... Oh, hell.
What is it?
My lipstick, it's rolled under the seat.
Well, don't worry. You can find it when you get
I
out.
can't find it. Well, what's the matter?
I don't know. Seems as if... Damn. Blast!
What is it?
We've run out of petrol. The tank's empty.
Wait. You're not really with it today, are you, Buster?
Didn't we pass a garage a couple of miles back?
Yes, I think we did. On the left-hand side. Why, what you going to do?
What the hell do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to get some petrol.
Hey, where's that magazine?
I told you, it's in the side pocket.
Respect, it appears to me that you are deliberately confusing the issue. Only last Monday we dispatched it. David, I had no idea you were back.
Back last night.
You should have phoned me. How are you? I didn't expect you for another 3 or 4 days at least.
I'm all right. Going away wasn't such a good idea after all.
Oh. Huh. I saw Evelyn on Tuesday.
Where?
In the High Street.
What happened?
Well, I don't think she saw me. If she did, she made a pretty good job of looking the other way.
Was she alone?
Yes. You haven't seen her, I take it?
No, I didn't go back to the house last night. I was feeling tired and depressed, and I didn't feel like having a row with anyone.
Where'd you stay?
I've taken a room at the Crown for the time being.
You should have stayed with us, you know.
Morning, Sue.
What? Hello, Harry. How's Dorothy?
Oh, she's fine, thank you, Sue.
And the children?
Yes, they're great.
How are you?
Martin, I'm extremely busy this morning. What do you want?
Will you tell your boss I'd like to see him?
The boss?
You do work for Mr. David Walker.
You know I do.
But will you tell him I'd like to see him, please?
But that's not the point. It was dispatched on the 18th. Forgive me, but for once I do happen to know what I'm talking about. All right, you do that. No, you go ahead and do that.
Excuse me, sir. Mr. Walker, there's an Inspector Denson to see you, sir.
Oh? Well, you better show him in, Sue. Denson. Isn't that her husband?
I imagine so. He's in the force.
You met him?
Yes, played in a golf tournament about a year ago. Shortly after Sue walked out on him. Never spoke a word, just knocked hell out of me. Come in, Mr. Denson.
Morning, Mr. Eastwood.
Nice to see you again. How's the golf?
Oh, non-existent at the moment, I'm afraid.
He's the longest hitter I've ever seen. You know the old 14th at St. George's? I've seen him on the green in one.
I'm sorry to disturb you, Mr. Walker. I wonder if you could spare me a few minutes.
Oh, yes, of course.
This is a colleague of mine, Sergeant Kennedy.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
This is a private matter.
Oh, no, this is
well,
your
it's up
office,
to you,
Harper.
sir.
Do sit down.
Thank you.
Well, what do you want to see me about?
Do you know a girl called Judy Clayton, sir?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
Ah, she lives in Guildford. She has a bedsitter in Reigate Street.
Never heard of her. Is this Judy Clayton?
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, then I'm sorry, sir. I do know this girl. I gave her a lift in my car.
Oh, when was this, sir?
Last Tuesday. I was going up north to see an uncle of mine when... Look, what is this? Has something happened to this girl?
Where did you pick up Miss Clayton, sir?
About 10 miles the other side of Guildfleet. She was standing on a corner trying to thumb a lift.
Will you tell me what happened?
Nothing happened. She wanted to go to Doncaster, and I simply offered a lift in my car.
Did you take her as far as Doncaster, sir?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Well, she'd been in the car for about half an hour when we ran out of petrol. Fortunately, we just passed a garage, well, a couple of miles back. I walked to that garage, and one of the mechanics gave me a lift back to the car.
And what about the girl? Did she go to the garage with you?
No, of course not. She sat in the car and read a magazine.
Yes, I'm sorry. Go on.
Well, that's it, really. When I got back, she'd gone.
Gone where, sir?
I don't know. I suppose she got tired of waiting and finally managed to get someone else to pick her up. There was a note on the windscreen thanking me for the lift.
What the devil's this all about, Inspector? Is this girl missing or something?
No, she's not missing, sir. She's dead. She was strangled. And we found her body about 300 yards from where your car stopped. Or perhaps I should say 300 yards from where we found this. I rather imagine that's the note you were referring to, sir.
Yes. Yes, it is. I was just beginning to curse myself for having thrown it away.
Well, one would hardly expect you to have kept it, Mr. Walker.
How do you know it was David's car that picked this girl up, Inspector? His name isn't on the note?
We made inquiries in the district, and the garage hand remembered both the Rolls-Royce and Mr. Walker. She gave us a very good description of you, sir. We also found this in the girl's handbag.
That's one of our key rings. One of the firms, I mean.
Yes, I imagine you give them away to customers and friends.
That's the idea. It's an advertisement.
Did you give this to Miss Clayton, sir?
Well, no, of course I didn't. Why should I give a complete stranger...
Yes.
Well, I didn't give it to her, but I've got a pretty shrewd idea where she got it from. It's my bet that she took it from the glove pocket of my car.
Now, was there a key ring like this in the glove pocket?
At least half a dozen of them.
We always carry them about with us, Inspector. I've got a stack of them at home.
Well, if what you say is true, she certainly didn't waste any time putting her keys on it. It's curious we didn't find her old one.
Her old one?
Her old key ring.
Huh.
Assuming she had one, of course.
Look here, Inspector, what are you trying to infer? That I knew this girl, that she was a friend of mine, that I gave her the key ring
No, I wasn't
long
inferring
before...
anything, sir. But since you raised the point, was she a friend of yours?
No, I've told you, I've never seen her before.
Yes, she was just standing on the corner and you offered her a lift.
Yes.
Did she tell you why she was standing on that particular corner, sir?
No, she didn't.
She had an appointment to meet somebody there at 10:30.
Must have been about 10:30 when I picked her up.
Yes, I suppose it must have been, sir.
How do you know she had this appointment, Inspector?
We found a diary in her handbag. It mentioned the appointment, but unfortunately it didn't mention who it was with. Well, thank you, sir. You've given me the information I wanted. We won't take up any more of your time.
Oh, I take it you're in the book, sir. If we want to get in touch with you.
What? Yes, yes. No, I'm staying at the Crown just for the moment.
What, in Mortimer Street, sir?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I'll come down with you, Inspector.
Well, thank you, sir. I'm very grateful to you for putting me in the picture.
I just didn't want you to get the wrong impression. My partner's not usually bad-tempered. This business with his wife. Not the poor devil sideways.
I rather imagine it has, sir. Roy Norton, doesn't he run a driving school?
Yes.
Oh, yes, yes, I know the man. Well, thank you again, sir. You've been most helpful. You still haven't answered my question, Harry.
Did I believe Walker? Yes. Yes, I believed him. But whether I would have done if the girl hadn't left that note, well, I don't know.
You attach importance to the note.
Don't you?
It's a great deal of importance. Especially as she may not have written it.
May not have written it. Well, what do you mean?
The note was written in lipstick, in block capitals. According to the lab, the lipstick's known as Pink Noisette. Well, I mean, that's the maker's name.
Well,
The lipstick we found in her handbag was called Mountain Rose.
Mountain Rose. You mean it was a different shade?
That's right.
Well, which one was she wearing?
That's an interesting point. She wasn't wearing any lipstick. Hello, Harry.
Oh, am I disturbing you?
Yes?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, but it is important.
Yes, all right, come in.
Thanks. I tried to get in touch with you last night, but there was no reply.
It was my mother's birthday. I went over to Hampstead. Do you want some coffee?
Oh, no, thanks, no.
Oh, what's happened? You're steamed up about something.
Yes, well, I went back to Reigate Street last night. You know, Judy Clayton's place.
Yes?
Well, you remember the bedside cabinet? The one that was locked?
Yes.
Well, Mrs. Bodley, the landlady, finally produced the key.
Don't tell me Mrs. Bodley's beginning to cooperate.
Oh, no, far from it. She still shuts up like a clam the minute the murder's mentioned. However, I did find this interesting little item in the cupboard amongst the various odds and ends.
Oh, this is one of those, what do you call them, cameras? They take instant pictures and you don't have to... This is rather a good one, too.
Yes, and these are some of the photographs she took. I found them with the camera.
David Walker.
Well, I'm sorry, Evelyn, if you choose to misunderstand what I'm saying.
Oh, come off it, Roy. If you don't want to come here anymore, just say so and have
Look,
done
it's
with
not a question of not wanting to come here. Good heavens, I've been practically living here for the past 2 months. I merely said that under the present circumstances, we should try and be a little bit more discreet.
it. Discreet. A little bit late for that, isn't it?
Look, all I'm saying is instead of meeting here at the house, we should meet somewhere else occasionally.
Where, for instance?
Well, I don't know where. Look, Evelyn, I've got a rotten day ahead of me. Now, don't let's quarrel. Not now. I'll pick you up this evening. Be outside the office around about 6:30.
Or make it earlier, will you? About 2:45. David's coming, and I don't want to be here when he arrives.
David?
Yes, he telephoned. He wants to collect some things. I imagine it'll be sometime tonight.
Well, where is he? Where's he staying?
The Crown in Mortimer Street.
You, don't suppose this could be him now,
Oh,
do you?
darling heart, he's hardly likely to ring the bell.
Mrs. Walker? Yes. Could I have a word with you, please? Detective Inspector Dunson. I'm sorry to call so early, Mrs. Walker, but I was... Oh, good morning, sir.
This is Mr. Norton. He's been giving me a driving lesson. He's just leaving. This is Inspector Denson.
Oh, good morning. I'll phone you later about Thursday's appointment, Mrs. Walker. I'm not quite sure how I'm placed.
Well, Thursday's fine for me. I'm free all day.
Oh, good.
I'm investigating a murder case, Mrs. Walker. A girl called Judy Clayton was murdered, and there seems to be...
Excuse me, did you say Judy Clayton?
Yes?
Is that the Judy Clayton that lived in Reigate Street?
Yes, that's right, sir. Why, did you know the young lady?
No. Well, yes, but... well, what happened? When was she killed?
We don't know what happened, sir, except that she was murdered. She was strangled. We found her body in a ditch.
Good God.
It's been in the paper, sir. How well did you know this girl, Mr. Norton?
Well, I hardly knew her at all. She came into my office a couple of months ago and said she was thinking of buying a car and that she might possibly want some driving lessons.
Oh, did she have any driving lessons, sir?
No, I never saw her again. Well, if you'll excuse me, I have another appointment at 10 o'clock. It's all right, Mrs. Walker. I can see myself out.
I expect you're wondering why I should want to talk to you about this affair, Mrs. Walker.
Well, yes, I am, rather. I'm afraid I can't help you. I've never heard of this girl. Judy?
Clayton. Well, then I take it your husband never mentioned her.
My husband? Why should he?
We've reason to believe that he was friendly with Miss Clayton.
David?
Yes.
Well, that's certainly news to me, Inspector.
Mrs. Walker, I'd like you to look at this camera and these photographs.
What about them?
Well, have you any idea where the photographs were taken?
Yes, they were taken in Italy.
When?
Last year.
What part of Italy?
It's a place called Forte de Marmi. It's near Viareggio.
Have you any idea who took them?
Well, I imagine Andy did.
Andy?
Oh, Andy Mason. He's my brother. He and David went on holiday together. We were all going. Then my mother was suddenly taken ill. Well, actually, she fell down the stairs at the last moment and broke her leg. I had to cry off.
I see. And the camera?
Well,
Well, have you seen it before?
well, yes, it's Andy's, of course.
Your brother's?
Yes. But then he lost it. He lost it at Milan Airport. Where on earth did you find it?
I was just about to ask the same question, Evelyn. Where did you find it, Inspector?
Oh, good morning, sir. I'm glad you're here. I wanted to have another chat with you.
I suppose you start by answering my question.
We found the camera and the snapshots together, sir.
Yes, but where?
In a house in Reigate Street. In Judy Clayton's room.
Inspector, I'm sorry to stop you, but I wanted to have another word with you about Judy Clayton.
Oh?
Well, it was a little bit awkward talking about her in front of Mrs. Walker because she's a client of mine, and I didn't want her to get the wrong impression.
The wrong impression about what, sir?
About my relationship. I mean my association with...
Oh, yes, yes.
Look, Inspector, I'll be perfectly frank with you. I lied to you about Judy Clayton. She didn't just inquire about taking our course. As a matter of fact, she had several lessons from us.
From you personally?
Yes. Well, there you are. I thought you ought to know about it. It's always better to be perfectly straightforward about these things.
Mr. Norton? Tell me about Judy Clayton. What sort of a girl was she?
Oh, she was, all right, I suppose. Well, obviously, I didn't get to know her very well.
Well, how many lessons did she have from you?
Oh, about, half a dozen, I should say. She enrolled for the complete course, which was, 15, but, well, unfortunately, she, refused to pay us. We just couldn't get a bob out of her.
Oh, you surprised me. According to all accounts, she was pretty well off.
Well, that wasn't our experience. We kept sending her bills. Nothing happened.
Didn't you speak to her about it? Personally, I mean.
Yes, I did. I bumped into her in the high street one day, and I was pretty frank with her. I said, you owe us 12 quid, honey. You better pay up and no excuses, or you'll be hearing from our solicitors.
What happened?
Well, she just laughed at me.
Is that all?
Well, no. As a matter of fact, just as I was leaving, she said if I cared to drop into her apartment one evening, we could, discuss the matter.
No, thank you. And did you pop round to her flat one evening, Mr. Norton?
Oh, no, of course I didn't. Well, if you'll excuse me, Inspector.
Just before you go, do you happen to know a man called Andy Mason?
Andy Mason? Why, yes, he's, Mrs. Walker's brother.
Is he a friend of yours?
No. We have the same hobby, flying. We're members of the same club.
The Fleetway Flying Club?
Yes, that's right. But I wouldn't say we were friends, exactly.
Is he the man that runs the Grapevine, that pretty little pub by the river?
Yes. But he doesn't just run it. He owns it.
Because Mrs. Walker mentioned him. I wasn't sure if it was the same chap. Well, thank you, Mr. Norton. You've been very helpful.
I tell you, Hello, sir. Excuse me, sir. Nice to see you, sir.
Richard, I didn't know you were here. How long have you been at the Grapevine?
About 6 months, sir. What can I get you, Mr. Denson?
Oh, I'll have a tomato juice, please. And make that 2 gin and tonics, please, George.
Okay, Mr.
Nice full house tonight. Where's our Olive?
She's in London doing a bit of shopping. She'll be on at 8 o'clock.
Got a pretty face, sir, but he's not like our Olive. Make that 2 large gin and tonics, please.
Okay, Mr. Walker. That'll be 10 new pence, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Is Mr. Mason about?
He's in the office, sir.
Would you tell him I'd like a word with him, if that's possible?
Yes, right, Mr. Dempsey.
Thank you. I'll be over there. Hello, sir. What are you doing here?
I'm just waiting for someone.
This is one of your haunts?
No. As it happens, I've never been here before.
Well, let me get you a drink.
I've already got one, thank you.
I tried to get you on the telephone this afternoon.
Yes, I know. I got your message. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to ring you back.
I think it was I that got the message, sir.
What did you want?
Oh, I just wanted to have a word with you about the cottage.
Have you been there recently?
Yes, I go and do the garden most weekends.
What about it?
Well, I've heard from the estate agents and they've finally had an offer for it.
Well?
Well, I don't know whether to accept it or not.
It's up to you.
Come on, Vincent.
Martin, it's your cottage. If you want to sell it, sell it.
All right, I'll sell the bloody place and that's it.
I don't know why you didn't sell it a year ago when we called the whole thing off.
You know perfectly well why I didn't sell it. I thought you...
You thought I might come to my senses?
I was hoping we'd both come to our senses.
Martin, I am perfectly happy. Really. I've got an interesting job, a good salary, and a nice little flat. Why don't you just do me a favour and leave me alone?
Right, thanks, George. Inspector Denson?
Yes.
Andy Mason. I believe you wanted to work with me.
Yes, that's right, sir. If you could spare me a few minutes.
Yes, of course. Good evening. Oh, what did you want to see me about?
I've got something I'd like you to take a look at, Mr. Mason. Perhaps we could go into your office.
Yes, of course.
Bye, Sue.
Goodbye.
Lend a hand with your parcels, that's all.
I know what he meant, all right.
Hello, have you had a good day?
Oh.
It's a damn silly question, isn't it? Bought half Oxford Street for the looks of things.
Yeah, if you ask me, she'll be wanting a sub before Thursday.
Well, that's where you're wrong, Mr. Clever. I haven't even touched my wages yet, if you must know. These are all on Victor.
Please. Yes, this is mine, no doubt about it. Well, I'm damned. Certainly never thought I'd see this again.
You say you lost it at Milan Airport?
Yes, at least, well, I thought I did. Excuse me, I'll just turn this thing off. I like to hear what's going on behind my back. Yes, this is mine, all right, but how did you come to get hold of it, Inspector?
Well, we're making certain inquiries, sir, and during the course of our investigations, we happened to find the camera.
Inquiries about what? Stolen property?
No, sir. What happened exactly at the airport?
Nothing happened, except that I was in a hell of a state. Well, to tell the truth, I was a bit tight. I'd had some 6 doubles, and I was just trotting off to the gents, having handed my camera and various bits and pieces to David, when they suddenly called the flight number. Well, the next thing I knew, we were on the ruddy aircraft, and I was struggling with the seatbelt.
And it was then, was it, that you discovered the camera was missing?
No, not until the next day. I was sorting things out, and I suddenly realized I hadn't got it. Well, I immediately rang up David, and he said I'd never given it to him. In fact, he said he hadn't seen it, not since we left the hotel.
I see.
All right. I must say I'm certainly very glad you found it, Inspector. It's a pretty expensive toy, and it's not insured. But, you still haven't told me where you found it.
Do you know a girl called Judy Clayton, sir?
No, I'm afraid Oh, Judy Clayton. I know the name. Haven't I been reading something about her quite recently? Oh, good God, I remember. Surely she's the girl that was murdered?
That's right, sir.
Well, what has Judy Clayton got to do with my camera?
Well, we found it in her bedroom, sir, in a cupboard.
How in heaven's name did she come to get hold of it?
I can't imagine, sir. Unless she was a friend of Mr. Walker's and he gave it to her.
No, that's absurd, Inspector.
Why, sir?
Well, in the first place, David wouldn't steal the camera. In the second place... Well, in the second place, David wouldn't be friendly with a girl like Judy Clayton.
What, you mean he's just not that sort of chap?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, Inspector. But then, haven't you met him?
Oh, yes, he's your brother-in-law, sir. I'd like to hear your opinion of him.
Well, I can give you that in 10 seconds flat. He's loyal, honest, and he's a damn good husband. In fact, as you ask me, he's a great deal better than my sister deserves.
Boom.
Inspector Denson.
Yes? Oh, hello, Mrs. Bartley. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize
Could you spare me a few minutes?
Yes, of course, by all means. Come along in.
Thank you.
Sit down, Mrs. Bartley.
Thank you.
I was just going to get myself a drink. Can I get you one?
No, thank you.
Well, now, what can I do for you?
Inspector, I owe you an apology. The other day when you came to the house, I'm afraid I wasn't very helpful.
Well, it was understandable. The murder must have been a great shock.
Yes, it was. A great shock. I just couldn't believe it. Even now, sometimes I...
Well, what did you want to tell me?
I went to see a Mr. Revelwhite this morning. I don't know whether you know him or not. He's a solicitor.
Yes, I know him. Revelwhite and Tucker in Mortimer Street.
Yes, that's right. Horace Revelwhite's an old friend of mine. I've known him for years.
A very good firm.
I went to see him about a property I've just sold. There's been some trouble over... Well, we started talking about the murder, about Judy Clayton. I said that you'd questioned me and that I'd been... rather, well...
Difficult?
Yes. To cut a long story short, he told me to come along here and apologize.
I bet he also told you not to be such an obstinate old hen in the future.
Yes, that's exactly what he told me. Those were his exact words.
Well, we need all the help we can get, Mrs. Bodley, so if you know anything about Judy Clayton which you think might interest the police, please tell me.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is that she had lots of friends. Boyfriends, I mean. And she was certainly never short of money.
Tell me about the boyfriends.
Well, there was a chap called Norton, Roy Norton.
He runs a driving school.
Yes, that's right. He was very fond of her. Oh, for about 6 months. And then, I don't quite know why, it was broken off.
Mm.
Shortly after that, there was another man. What on earth was his name? He never came to the house, but she was crazy about him. She was always rushing up to London to meet him. I bumped into the pair of them in the theatre one night, and she introduced me to him. Mason, that was his name. Andy Mason.
Andy Mason? You sure that's the name?
Yes, yes, quite sure.
He runs a Grapevine, that pretty little pub by the river.
Well, I wouldn't know about that. All I know is that he was very fond of her.
Mr. Mason has a brother-in-law, a man called David Walker.
Yes, yes, the sergeant mentioned him.
I was very interested in Mr. Walker because he gave Judy Clayton a lift in his car the day she was murdered. Was David Walker a friend of Miss Clayton's?
I don't think so. She certainly never mentioned him. And of course he might have been. She brought all sorts of people to the house at one time or another. I don't suppose I met half of them. What's this David Walker like?
Well, when he's on holiday, he looks like this.
Oh, but that's the man I told you about, the one I was introduced to. The man she said was Andy Mason.
Look, Evelyn, I'm sorry about tonight. I didn't realize it'd take so long.
I felt such an idiot sitting by myself.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry, honey.
I still can't see why you couldn't have phoned from the hotel. Rushing back to your office in the middle of a meal.
Look, I told you I couldn't remember a telephone number, and the silly old cow isn't in the book, so I had to. Look, I'm sorry. I apologize. Now, let's just forget about it, honey.
All right. Promise you won't do it again.
Of course I won't do it again.
Promise.
Promise.
I'll telephone you tomorrow. Probably in the afternoon.
Okay, then.
Hello? I want to send a cable to New York. My number is Gilfleet 201. And the subscriber's name is Walker. The cable's from Mr. Jack Steen. Yes, that's right, Steen. Waldorf Astoria Hotel, Park Avenue, New York City. Please telephone me tomorrow night, 10:30. I must talk to you. All my love. Signed, Evelyn. Evely. Yes, that's right. David? David, are you home? David? I killed Judy Clayton, and in the end I had no alternative but to kill myself. For some time now I've been having an affair with Judy. One night, about 6 months ago, she started to blackmail me.